Well, guys, welcome to Sunday Night Live. I'm your host, Jason. And with me this week, I've got a group of fine gentlemen. The first one I'm going to mention here live on Toilets to Settle Sunday Night Live is the Frito Bandito, Rich himself, coming from a wedding last week of his daughter. So you know he's exhausted still. Rich, how you doing?
What up, everybody? Man, it seems like April every year is like back to back things going on every weekend for me, and I'm starting to learn that's one of the months that going forward I'm gonna like sleep the whole month beforehand. That way, I'm well rested for this. But I'm good. Memorial weekend, yeah, excited, man.
And Chris's videos, I'm gonna put up your comment when we get to that. So just give it a minute because I'm doing intros. We're gonna roll on with the intros. George, why don't you say hi to everybody? How you doing tonight?
Hi, everybody. No,
It's a little much, George, as usual.
bring it. I had to bring some excitement here. My June is exactly right like Rich's May. I've got birthdays lined up. I've got a mini vacation lined up. Like every weekend, I'm doing something in June. Excuse me. So, Rich, I feel you on that one, my friend.
And then last but not least, you guys know him from the New York Giants corner here on Toilets Titles. Joe knows. It's Joe Clark. How you doing, Joe?
Doing great, guys. It's Chris's videos. Shout out to Chris's videos. It's always great to see our number one fan in the chat. I'm doing great, guys. And I hear you. Like July tends to be my month where it's because we've got like birthdays galore. I've got my in July. Me, my son, my father. Actually, Coach, his birthday's in July. Two Coach's sisters' birthdays in July. I have my anniversary in July. So we're usually actually my anniversary. We're so packed in July. We actually celebrate our anniversary in August. This July is just too nuts. So I hear you, but I'm doing great. Happy Memorial Day weekend to everyone, and that's it.
Yeah, so Joe spoiled the next section here. We'll get into the plugs in a minute, but I do want to mention that tomorrow is Memorial Day, or today if you're watching it on Monday, it's Memorial Day. It's a day to honor our fallen soldiers, and from Toilets to Titles, we should do that now for sure. We wouldn't be able to do this silly show if it wasn't for the people that kept us free and gave up their lives in the ultimate sacrifice. In honor, I'm drinking. My grandfather gave me this cup. It's you can't read it because of the blur, but it says captain there. My grandfather was a captain in the Navy during World War II. So in honor of him and all the other members of the armed forces, we thank you. Thank you very much. So
Thank you.
All right, so plug time. At Toilets Titles, we got a ton of stuff going on, whether it be this show on Sunday nights, Monday mock laboratory with mock drafts with George. George has been doing mock drafts Monday, Wednesday, Friday, running them like crazy. We have Tuesday night, the main show. Wednesday, Joe does his show, Giants, that we talked about. College Football Nation. We got shows on Fridays. We got shows Saturdays. We got shows on Sunday with Coach. We got a Rams show. We're starting a Jaguar show. Like there's shows every day of the week. And on top of that, if you go to toiletstitles.com, there's articles that are going up, rankings that are going up. Go to YouTube and YouTube Toilets to Titles and subscribe to us. Patreon.com/Toilets to Titles. We have a gilded chat for those of you guys who want to come in and interact with us. The Frankenstank League is coming back again. Look, if you love fantasy football and if you love football in general, you got to join Toilets to Titles and get in the program because we've got stuff for you every day of the week. Articles, shows, content, just content, YouTube shorts, everything you want to see. So toiletstitles.com, YouTube Toilets Titles, patreon.com/Toilets Titles. Get on board. All right, guys. First thing I want to do is I want to shout out a guy I haven't heard from in a good long time, FL2 Drink. It's a guy that's gone back a long, long way with George and I.
Over a decade.
Yeah, seems like over. So I wanted to shout him out. Chris's videos. Joe and Chris are talking in the chat there about what happened to Joe's glasses. and you were playing VR with your son, maybe you left him in the metaverse, Joe.
In the clouds somewhere.
Go check your VR. It might be stuck in there.
We're going to jump into the NFL news for the week. There is one big piece of news. But the first thing I do want to mention is, and I read this stat today, I didn't fact check it, so it could be fake, but I believe it's true, that today marks less time to the start of the season than we have behind us since the Super Bowl. So we are more than halfway through this offseason. We are getting ready to get some real football. So go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, I hate to wish my life away, and I never do, but that is good news.
It is really, like, I want to enjoy every bit of this offseason, don't get me wrong. But, man, I wish the season was here. So,
you, me, and all.
All right, we are going to jump right into the NFL news now, and the biggest news of the week, of course, is that the Cardinals announced they will be releasing DeAndre Hopkins. They are also releasing him without a post-June 1st designation, which means they will eat all $22.6 million in dead cap this year. Rumor has it that some in the the Cardinals organization were upset with Hopkins for not playing the last 2 games, even though he was healthy enough to play. So the obvious question, and Chris video, it was the first thing he asked, so I'm going to pop that up there. Where will D-Hop go? Let's see who. You know what, Joey? The Giants need a wide receiver like I need some weight loss.
They need a wide receiver 1. They do.
So
They do.
I'm going to start with you because you guys need him. Does he go to the Giants?
You know what? He put out, I forgot exactly what all 3 were, but Hopkins put out 3 stipulations apparently for where he apparently wants to go. And one of them was like a quarterback that loves to play football. And like, is that like a dig at Kyler Murray? I'm like, oof, man. So he also was a stable organization as well. And I forgot what the 3rd stipulation was. But, you know, I would say, like, listen, I think the Giants could be in the running, but I think the Giants are trying to, right now, I think they're in the process of trying to retain their young guys. And they've got some young guys coming up, like some guys they've signed, but they also have like Andrew Thomas coming up fairly soon, who they're definitely going to be signing. I think they want to maintain cap space. And if this is a team like that, if D-Hop was going to put them in absolute Super Bowl contention, make them absolute monsters, then I think the time would be right. I don't think they're going to do it. I do hope they kick the tires and see if he's willing to do like a 1-year deal, which I don't think he's going to do. But I'd kick the tires. But I don't know. Maybe it'll be like, if he really wants, like, I think he wants to go to a good organization. No, I think the 3rd stipulation is like a team that can compete for a Super Bowl. So I don't know, like Kansas City, Buffalo, maybe. Buffalo needs another weapon. I don't really think it's going to be my Giants, but I hope they kick the tires on it. But I can see Buffalo. They need another weapon. It can't just be Stephon Diggs and a little Dawson Knox sprinkled in. So.
What do you think, George?
So I think my answer is going to hurt my feelings. Honestly, the New York Jets. Put him across from Garrett Wilson. They got Aaron Rodgers. As much as it pains me to admit, they have a very, very, very good defense. They have the money to sign him. It makes a whole lot of sense. If he's looking for championships, the Jets have made it perfectly clear by going after a Tyreek Hill and other wide receivers that hit the market, and in trade discussions, they are in the market for another marquee wide receiver. They were in on Odell. They were in on Tyreek.
That makes sense.
I got a painful feeling that the New York Jets will be in play. And if I'm him, I honestly consider New York but I consider the Jets, not the Bills, not the Giants, but I consider the Jets.
Yeah.
Rich?
Yeah, so, I'm sitting here thinking and stuff, why did they release him before June 1st and everything? And when you actually sit there and think about it, I guess all teams are only allowed to have 2 post June 1st releases to save on cap and everything and stuff. And I didn't realize that at first and stuff like that, they used it on Rodney Hudson and JJ Watt, which I would think that maybe if they used it on Hopkins, they would save more money instead of one of them. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I haven't looked at what they would have saved on the other ones and everything. But that, I was thinking that first, but that's the reason why it can't brought to my attention. I know the Patriots this past week, they had kind of stated that they're not interested due to they think he's past his prime and stuff. Obviously, a lot of people are going to think that, but he can still get it done and stuff like that in the right situations. I still think he'll get it done no matter what, no matter where he goes. I'm not going to be the homer and say he goes right here and everything like I always do every time a receiver opens up. But it'd be nice to see him across from Devontae Adams playing next to each other. But I think I like the Jets. I like that one. I could he go to the 49ers? I mean, would they be interested in him?
I
don't
think they
think
like
so.
more like speed receivers. Go ahead. Which
So
is kind of like what Dable likes as well.
So I'm gonna post a couple of what Chris said here. He said the Bears, a man can dream. I mean, look, I think he's more looking for a contender, and as much as I like the Bears as a future as an up and coming team with Fields, man, I think D Hop would be doing himself a disservice by going from bad quarterback to Justin Fields, who's not a bad quarterback for his team, but he's also not a prolific passer. Like, he's just be another guy who probably wouldn't get him the ball as much as he deserves. So I think that'd be a bad fit for like D-Hop trying to win a championship. And then, as much as I'd hate to say it, I think it's going to be the Chiefs who throws the most money at him. Now, the stories I read earlier in the week about who the teams that were going after him, the Chiefs kicked the tires a good bit on him. But that was actually before they signed Donovan Smith. And while you say they throw the most money, they threw a lot of money at Donovan Smith, who's going to be their left tackle this year. And so they actually don't have as much right. I mean, look, the cap's fake. They can figure money out. It'll, if they want him, they'll get him. But like, as far as having the most, I don't think that's a thing either. I don't think the Bills have a ton, but they'll make space if they have to. I think those are the two teams that really wanted him. New England did kick the tires with the trade, but once they were out of the trade talk, my guess is they, now they're saying, oh, well, he's not for us, he's over the hill, whatever. Like, you know what happens when you get rejected.
Does he think like a lot of the media thinks, why go to an AFC team, try to go to an NFC team to be more suitable to a team that he could pretty much pick, where he wants to go over there at maybe the Eagles. I don't think he wouldn't fit with the Eagles and stuff like that.
I was just going to say the
Eagles, maybe even the Saints, I mean, they're a contender and stuff like that where he'd fit well with them and stuff. You just don't know if he's even pondering that idea of AFC, NFC,
Yeah, but it just hit me too, just as you're about to say it, like, wow, I guess the Eagles can make a play for him,
So they have.
I don't think. I mean, Kansas City just won a Super Bowl without any elite wide receivers. They had obviously Kelsey, but they just won a Super Bowl without any elite wide receivers. I don't see them going that route.
Well, look, there's a lot of ways to win a Super Bowl, but it's better than winning one. Winning another.
20.
Yeah, winning another. So Chris said, he said, who, not the Chiefs, the Bears have the most actually cap space currently. If over the cap is accurate at the moment.
The problem is I don't think him looking for a big payday is what's going to be motivating him here. Like, he's made plenty of money over the years. He's still, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, but I still believe he's got guaranteed money coming to him from Arizona. So even if he doesn't, he could sit the whole year out and still be collecting plenty of money from Arizona. So I don't think the team's cap situations are really the what's it called? The motivating factor for DeAndre Hopkins. I think it's going to a place to win. And I'm sorry, Chris, I like what the Bears are building, but they're a couple of years away. I don't think the Bears are going to be in play for DeAndre Hopkins.
Another interesting spot would be the Chargers. Now, they drafted a rookie. They got two, but Mike Williams is hurt a lot. Keenan Allen's getting up there. You give Herbert, DeAndre Hopkins to go with that trio, man. All of a sudden, we're talking about them in the West again.
Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit be okay too, I guess, especially with Williams having a 6-game suspension. Mm-hmm. And the news came out this week. He still isn't sure what policy he broke, which hey, dude, go read it because
Yeah. Jacksonville could be another one. And I think they have cap space too. Up and coming team just made the playoffs. Young, elite-ish or elite in the making quarterback.
a lot of teams. I mean, if I had money to put down, it'd be the Chiefs and the Bills.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'd love him on the Giants, guys. Don't get me wrong. I'd love him for like a year. 2 years. I don't know, whatever. I wouldn't completely break the bank, but I'd give him a nice contract here. I'd love him on my team. Don't get me wrong. I just didn't want to trade for him. I'm glad he was released.
I was thinking which NFC teams would he make a big impact on? The one that jumped out the most would be the Packers, right? Like going to, I'm not saying he's going to go there, but I'm saying adding him to the Packers to what they already have, like that would be a big boost for Jordan.
The Cowboys, coaches, Cowboys.
Yeah, but the one that actually I think makes the most impact, and actually I believe has a chance to do some damage in the postseason would honestly be the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
If he's looking for a great quarterback, though, does Goff ring his bell?
He had a good year last year. I mean,
he did. I'm not knocking him, but like if you're
Right.
a wide receiver looking at quarterbacks,
see, he didn't say great, even though I kind of like reading between the lines. That's what I'm thinking. He said a quarterback who loves football, which I took as a dig at Kyler Murray.
Probably.
Yeah,
and
but
Kyler came out and was like super, like he came out on Twitter and was like, "Hey man, thanks for everything. Like you were go be awesome somewhere else."
Yeah.
So Kyler was professional and kept it cool after that, but
they're still on Modern Warfare, so that's fine.
Yeah, they'll play together still from different cities now. All right, guys, we're gonna move on from D-Hop because we're just speculating until he finally signs somewhere. The next little bit of news I've got is on Rich's Raiders. The new QB there, Jimmy Garoppolo, has not been cleared to practice due to his foot injury. Could be out until training camp. You can take Jimmy out of the 49ers, but apparently you can't take the 49ers injuries out of Jimmy. So I did see that the contract was actually built with this foot injury with an out built in. I mean, that's all well and good, but you're hitching your wagons on that quarterback for you this season. Without it, it's basically a lost season. So, Rich, I'm going to start it with you because it's the Raiders. How concerned are you about Garoppolo's injury?
As concerned as I was when he didn't come to the first press conference when he was supposed to be there. Like, that was the first stipulation that everybody was thinking is he failed the physical, and he did. They didn't come out and say it and everything, and it's like, man, that was my whole concern. I'm like, why go from Carr when you're going to deal with this and everything? And then on top of that, knowing the fact that this happened, I mean, they knew all this. We went and signed Brian Hoyer. And I get it. We drafted O'Connell and everything, but man, I felt like we threw our eggs in there and wasn't ready. You had to know this was going to happen and stuff like that. And I'm very concerned. I mean, I don't know if Brady can't. Everybody's talking about, okay, well, now Brady's a partial owner. Maybe this was built for him to step in and kind of take over and everything. But I know a lot of people want that to happen, but that ain't going to happen. I mean, for him to do that, they have to get approval from all 32 teams and stuff like that. And you think the Chargers and all them are going to, hey, yeah, sure. Throw Brady in there. I mean, that ain't happened for everybody that's thinking about it.
George, jump in.
So this news really doesn't surprise me because it's not like he went out and re-injured his foot. It's the same injury that derailed his season at the end of last year. That caused him to miss. It's a foot he injured against the Dolphins and had Brock Purdy come in and become a thing. So the fact that he failed his physical really shouldn't surprise anybody because he was coming off this injury. I do believe that's a lack of due diligence on behalf of the Raiders and their medical staff. They reworked the contract. I think they're thinking by the start of the season, he'll be fine. And now they're getting him at a discount. So as far as my level of concern for him on a scale of 1 to 10, honestly, it's very low. It's like a 4. It's not like we're getting news that, he was at practice and he injured his Liz Frank during practice or OTAs or something like that. This is something we knew since last year. This is not really news. This is just rehashed news because we're learning that
Right.
he failed the physical. But it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, they weren't surprised by it. They signed him knowing that he was, going to take longer to fill his, to come back from his injury. And Garoppolo's a veteran, so he'll be ready. He'll be ready if he's assuming he's healthy. And I'm sure they checked him out and they realized, they knew that he would be ready by the start of preseason, I guess. And I wouldn't be too worried about it. I still think they made a mistake moving on from Carr. Carr was good quarterback for the franchise too, a Raider through and through. And I thought it was a mistake unless they wanted to use Garoppolo as unless they were using Garoppolo as just like a bridge quarterback and they traded up in this past draft to, go get someone else like an Anthony Richardson or whoever. But I thought they made a mistake with that. But I'm sure they understood the situation with Garoppolo when they signed, and I'm sure he'll be ready, for the season.
Completely agree. Now, whether he'll be any good or not, that's another thing to be seen. But go ahead, Rich.
I'll finish up. I apologize. Look, yeah, we knew this and stuff like that, and look, they built the contract right. Yeah, he's gonna be ready for. It's not the fact that he's gonna be ready. Is now it's just that lingering fact that this is it could happen 6 weeks down the road and stuff like that, and we weren't prepared for it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not like you went out and found a really great backup, right? You got Brian Hoyer, which, I mean, he's a fine backup, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I was surprised. I really thought they were going to move up because they weren't that far away anyway, right? Weren't they like the number 8 spot or something like that?
well, I mean, Will Levis fell to the second round, right? Like, it's not like they couldn't have gotten a quarterback in waiting.
Man,
so
Anthony Richardson would have been such a great fit on that team.
Well, considering that the Colts took them,
I know. They could have moved up ahead of the Colts. I'm thinking, but not that they had to make the move. Anthony Richardson's not. Can't write that guy. I'm not writing him in stone, but man, he will look good in black and silver.
D now says, "Hey fellas, so what's going on, man?"
What's
Dennis.
Up? All right, and last little bit of news because there wasn't a lot of news this week, but it's a little feel good story. Not a whole lot to discuss, but. James Conner is now celebrating 7 years cancer free. So, very, very cool. Having to go through that at all, if it touched you or anybody in your family, having to go through that at all, and then to come back and be at the top of your football game, super impressive. So,
Totally cool.
While you're talking about that, Jason, also I want to give a shout out to Foster Moreau. During the offseason, it was discovered that he had lymphoma cancer, and he still signed that 3-year contract with the Saints. He's actually practicing at OTAs, and he's been cleared to play. So, if we're going to talk about people who, beat cancer or overcoming cancer and whatnot, like shout out to Foster Moreau as well.
We did do that last week, George, while you were here. So thanks for watching the show. It was a good one.
Back to Justin, and you just totally ruined it. The joke's no longer funny when you have to explain the joke.
Well, I just explained it for the audience. All right. So we're going to get into our weekly topic this week, which is improved running back rooms. There's a couple teams here that drastically improved their running back room. I put them in the order that I believe that they've improved, but you guys can tell me what you think. And this one falls under the big moves, which is the Detroit Lions. The Lions were the 11th ranked rush team last year behind Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. Williams has moved on to New Orleans, and the team traded Swift to the Eagles during the draft. But you could say the Lions did a great job replacing the two. First, they signed David Montgomery in the offseason to a 3-year deal. Montgomery comes over from the Bills, he was averaging 900 yards on the ground over the last 4 seasons. They also surprised everybody by drafting Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round. The Lions hope that the Gibbs is a healthy version of what Swift should have been. So I think this is the most improved backfield because I feel like Jamal Williams was good, not great, although, around the goal line he was great. But like in between the 20s, not great. You guys have David Montgomery now, who's been very good for the Bears. And then a guy in Gibbs who may actually be Swift but healthy. I'm gonna start with Joe since he's a fan of the NFC teams.
Yeah, listen, I don't know if they're the most improved. I mean, that was. I mean, listen, if they're healthy, then I guess so. I mean, like if Swift had been healthy, that would have been a heck of a backfield week in and week out, but he wasn't. So I was never a huge Monty fan, to be honest with you, but in Chicago. But the problem is that he's playing in Chicago, and Detroit has proven it's not a slam at Chicago. It's just the truth. I felt bad for players who played for the Giants in the past. Um, the thing is that Monty now is going to a team that proved last year they can score. That team is, their offense can be really scary. No team wanted to play them in the playoffs last year if they had made it in. So I'm really excited about about Jahmyr Gibbs. That was a shocker. I think at pick 12, if I recall correctly, that was a shocker. But I'm excited. Yeah, I mean, most improved. I don't know. I guess they're up there. Like they made the list and deservedly so. It's a hard. I mean, I'm looking at the other teams as well, so I'm not going to give it away. It is very tough for me, so I don't know, but it's exciting. It's exciting, and I'm glad that Detroit's really they're seriously taking the run game seriously. That's a serious turnover over there.
What was crazy last year?
Resources.
So what was crazy last year is how many times like that offense would get down at the 1, and they were just able to give it to William. They were just able to.
I like Williams.
I like him too.
Yeah.
No, look,
Yeah.
Personality-wise, that guy's the
Yep.
coolest guy in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love every press conference I've ever seen from that guy.
Yeah.
But I think he's a good, not great running back who was in a great situation last year.
Agreed.
George?
Good, not great. That describes David Montgomery. So he's going to fill that Jamal Williams role perfectly. Jahmyr Gibbs is in my opinion, the same exact skill set as DeAndre Swift. So I don't see outside of health, which I mean, right now, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs is healthy, but like in a week from now, he might not be. Like we don't know. It's the most brutal position on the offense outside of the line and the most susceptible to injury. So yeah, you could say, DeAndre Swift was always injured, so they went out and drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, but we really don't know if Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be healthy for an entire season or not. And that's just the position that he plays. It's just a physical position. You're running into walls every single possession, every time you touch the ball. So I like the fact that they upgraded, and I'm going to say that they did upgrade from Jamal Williams to David Montgomery. I think they made a lateral move from DeAndre Swift to Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's high praise for Jahmyr Gibbs just based upon the fact we haven't seen him play in the NFL. And saying it's a lateral move to DeAndre Swift, who we've seen when he is on the field, he is such a dangerous weapon. So I'm not going to go with as far as are they the most improved backfield over last year. I would say that they are slightly improved.
And Rich, I'll get to you in a minute, but I do think we're underselling David Montgomery's pass catching abilities out of the backfield, especially compared to Williams. Look, I do think that like Montgomery is a better running back than we all expect. There was a brief like section of a season where he was unstoppable 2 years ago behind a really bad offensive line. I think he's a much better running back than Jamal Williams, a guy who was a second in Green Bay, right, and could never crack the top. So like I do think David Montgomery is a giant upgrade. And the fact that we think that Gibbs is going to be on the field when Swift never could be, and the fact that they are actually going to trust him with the ball compared to what they gave Swift is a reason why I say it's the biggest upgrade. Rich, jump in here.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know so much about the best improved or however you want to word it. I'm gonna say let's say they restocked because of the fact. Don't forget, look, Jamal Williams had 1,000-yard rushing and 17 touchdowns last year. I mean, that's not nothing to joke about and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, he might not be a stud running back like it, but the guy produced, and Swift, when he had an opportunity, he had his games and everything. So I'm not saying they improved. They restocked for another run, a fresh new running back and everything, and they brought in Montgomery and stuff like that. I mean, like I said, I don't know about so much improved. They just restocked. That team's gonna pass. from 20 to 20 and stuff like that. They'll use Montgomery and both of them in the passing game. They'll Gibbs and Montgomery and everything. So I don't see, if you want to be honest with you, I don't see Gibbs and Montgomery scoring 17 touchdowns this year.
I mean, look, if he's and I got to look up the stat, and I'll do that after I move on to the next one, and we can add it. If you give them as many times inside as many opportunities inside the 5 that and it was a fluke. I mean, look, it was every freaking game. They got dropped at the 2 or the 1. You know, one of the wide receivers got dragged down inside the 5 for sure.
That happened to Julio Jones year after year after year.
But
he'd catch a 60-yard pass, come down, and be tackled on the 1, and then the next play they turn around, hand it off to the running back, touchdown.
I would argue that it would be pretty damn hard for any running back to not do what and I know some of them don't, but like it'd be pretty hard for a lot of these players to not get what Jamal Williams got if he had that many rushes inside the 5.
Yeah.
So all right, we're going to move on to the Philadelphia Eagles. They were 5th in the league in rushing last year. Miles Sanders had a career year with over 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns. No other running back had more than 300 yards. That's likely because the Eagles got the most out of Jalen Hurts with 700-plus yards on the ground and 13 rushing touchdowns. 13 rushing touchdowns. And that's a lot of those push him in the back, sneak him in kind of moves. They're looking to change that a bit after signing and trading for a pair of often injured running backs, but they're very talented. Rashad Penny from Seattle and DeAndre Swift from Detroit. So my question here is, the Eagles are taking a large gamble with the championship roster, putting they're taking their 2 running back position and putting it in the hands of guys who have not combined for a healthy season in their career. Do you guys think that gamble will pay off? And George, I'm going to start with you.
I think it will pay off, and the reason I say that is because of the position we're talking about. We're talking about running backs. They're I don't want to say they're a dime a dozen because they're not. Like, you have your upper top tier running backs, but for the most part, like if your starting running back gets injured, you can go out and find you a half decent running back to take their spot. And the Eagles definitely have depth with Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott as well. Let's not forget those 2 guys are still on the roster. Mm-hmm. So they have plenty of depth at the position. If something should happen and guys like Leonard Fournette or Kareem Hunt or I don't think Zeke Elliott would ever go to the Eagles, but I'm going to throw his name out there as well as Zeke Elliott. Like, all those guys are still available on waivers right now. They can be signed by any team at any minute. So I'm not going to sit here and doubt what the Eagles are doing. They have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. They have one of the best mobile quarterbacks in the NFL in Jalen Hurts. They have 2 of the best wide receivers in the NFL. They have one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Like when you come in, the number 1 priority for the defense is not stopping the running backs. It's not the number 2 priority. You can probably argue it's not even the 3rd most important thing for the defense to focus on. It's probably the 4th. So I'm not overly concerned about their running backs, their situation, and them getting injured.
All right, before I move on to Joe, I promised some stats on Jamal Williams, and I just got them. So Jamal Williams had more than double anybody else in the league inside the 5 carries.
Yep.
With 34 touches. He had 61% of his team's carries inside the 5. 14 of his 17 touchdowns came from carries inside the 5. That's more than double the second top person, which was Miles Sanders. The guy touched the ball so much inside the 5, it's like he lived there. So anyway,
and that's why you get David Montgomery in fantasy leagues.
Yeah, go get you some DeMonte. All right, Joe. But we're going to talk about the Eagles, and you're a Giants fan, so you get some Eagles priority here.
Yeah, man, what a steal in getting DeAndre Swift with a 4th round pick. Unbelievable. And I realize he's got a history of injury, but I don't know how much they paid for Rashad Penny, but between giving up a 4th round pick for Swift, who's still on his rookie contract, and I assume not all that much money for Penny, they got 2 guys who, when they are healthy, are serious ballers. And if you're going to split up time between these 2, it's a chance that you can keep them healthier. So They've got a great passing game. They've got a young quarterback who knows exactly what he's doing. With an offensive line like George is talking about, the best in the NFL, and he knows how to use it. He knows how to buy time. He knows when it's he gets a lot of time behind that line, and if things don't develop, he can run. So they don't. But the running backs in Philadelphia do touch the ball quite a bit, but they got two guys. Like you said, both of them have a history of injury, but two of them on the team at the same time. I like it, and it's like it's a lot of upside for the minimal, for the amount of money that you're paying for these guys. It's a lot of upside.
To that point, I think I read a stat when it happened that Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift are making less than what Miles Sanders is making when he, moving on to Carolina. So you get them both.
Yeah, these guys have proven when they're healthy. Let's go ahead, George.
So Rashad Penny, he signed for basically just a hair over $1 million.
Jeez.
He's got a prorated bonus of $100,000. He's making $170,000 per game. His guaranteed salary is only $500,000. The total cap hit against the Eagles is only $1.2 million. So it's not a lot at all. Can
you imagine if they both stay healthy too? Oh my gosh! And listen, there's one player that I never touch in fantasy football, and that is Rashad Penny. And I didn't touch him last year. I remember the year before he had a good year, and people are like, oh, Penny. I'm like, he already had a history of injury. I'm not touching that dude. But listen, if I'm building an NFL roster and you're offering me Rashad Penny for pennies on the dollar, for Rashad Pennies on the dollar for a bunch. You know what? I'm gonna take it.
Absolutely. Rich, jump in.
Yeah, you guys pretty much said it. Look, if they stay healthy, you got two running backs that could be in all three downs. They could both catch the ball out of the backfield. They could both, at any point on the field, take that from one spot to the end zone and stuff. And the fact that you got two, and if, like I said, you got Boston Scott, you got who's the other guy, George?
Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah, I just slipped my mind and everything. Look, all this is to have depth in the backfield to take away from Hurts running and stuff like that. They want to take that avenue approach from. They're still going to do it and everything, but like I said, you got two running backs if they healthy, and there's no reason why they shouldn't. They got a good offensive line and everything, and if they running back by committee, everybody in this, they should stay healthy. And you got backs that could just anytime come in and stuff like that and just go the distance.
Yeah, it's another one of those, like, these are the two teams that made huge splashes in free agency, and look, if they stay healthy, it's probably, Rashad Penny, when healthy, looks like the best or one of the best running backs in the NFL. Like, the guy's just a stud, and his body can't hold up to the injury. So, like, we are hoping this year. I know Joe's not, but, like, you're hoping this year you can see him finally keep it together and be on a good team and not have to be the focal point, but when asked, do a great job. So I know everybody here but Joe's rooting for the guy.
One last thing. If Sanders didn't have the season he had last year, would we be saying right now?
It's a bad landing spot if Sanders didn't have a good season.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead, George.
I don't want to spoil the lead, so I'm not going to.
Okay.
But it involves the next subject we're going to discuss. We had one of our patrons post in our Gilded chat asking about drafting at the 101. So because it kind of, is related to our next subject, can we approach that subject after the next topic?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So the Atlanta Falcons is my third team here. It's hard to imagine the Falcons running more this season, especially after leading the league in 2022. But we should all find someone who loves us like Arthur Smith loves running the football. The Falcons found a couple of running backs in unusual places over the last couple of seasons. Cordell Patterson was a wide receiver that bumped around the league before becoming a running back and landing in Atlanta. In 2021, he had 1,000 all-purpose yards and 11 touchdowns. In 2022, the Falcons leaned on fifth-round rookie Tyler Algier for 1,000 yards on the ground. The Falcons surprised no one this year by drafting Bijan Robinson in the first, the best running back prospect since Saquon Barkley. Now, nobody would argue that Robinson isn't an upgrade over Algier, but the question for me here is, did drafting Robinson solve any issues that Atlanta had last year, especially considering they led the league in rushing attempts, even though they didn't have somebody like Robinson? Like, there's a lot of holes on that Falcons team, including quarterback, unless you suddenly believe in Ritter. So, guys, did the Falcons solve an issue, or did they just make a running back room better? And I'll start with Rich.
Man, this was a tough one and stuff like that. They didn't. I mean, look, Algier wasn't bad and stuff like that, but it's Bijan. Come on, man. Look, you got a running back with his potential, Barkley caliber and everything. Okay, it ain't gonna hurt. Let's put it that way, and everything. And what it does do, it helps. It does help the rest of the offense. Look, you having Bijan back there instead of Tyler Algier and stuff like that scares the defense and stuff like that to where they stack the box, opens up for Pitt, opens up for London. I mean, it helped them overall and stuff like that. Obviously, if they didn't do it and stuff like that, I don't think anybody be saying, well, they still got Algier and everything, you know. They still got Patterson. He still when he's in there and stuff like that, he could do some stuff and everything. But it did make them it made them scarier, let's put it that way. And when it comes down to it, it's all to help Ritter.
Joe?
Yeah, listen, I'm probably one of the only people out there, besides Arthur Smith, who doesn't have a problem, or the Giants' former general manager, who doesn't have a problem taking a running back high in the draft, even when you're a team, even when you're a team like the Falcons or the Giants were, respectively, when you're a rebuilding team. I don't have a problem, because when you get a talent that is that good, it's going to improve your team. It's not just improving the running back room; it's improving your offense, which is improving your team. Because listen, there are a lot of guys like. There's no slam dunks necessarily. If you're picking like top 3 and you want to go for like Will Anderson, that's different. Or maybe like a stud left tackle, that's different. But there's no whether it comes to cornerback or other edge rushers or none of these guys really guarantees. But I'll tell you, like Bijan, like Saquon, if they're healthy, are guarantees. And these guys are going to help out your team. And you know what? It's nice to have. You got Algier in like the 5th round last year. It's great depth, man. And he put up either 1,000 or he was on pace for 1,000 yards, something like that, over a 17-game season. I forgot what it was, but it's nice to have that luxury of 2 young running backs. There's many things you can do with them. You can have both of them coming out of the backfield at the same time. It will help open things up for Pitts and Drake London, and so I don't have a problem with it, because when you get a guy I realize it's the running back position. I know all the arguments. I've gone through it with Saquon. When you're getting, I think, a supreme talent, and I have no doubt that Bijan is going to succeed in the NFL. I don't have a problem getting that star at what's considered to be like a minimal value position. I don't have a problem with that at all. I think it's definitely an upgrade, and I thought it was really cool.
So I think the last can't miss running back that missed was like Trent Richardson, which has been a while, right? Like
usually the ground and pounders, like Trent Richardson was kind of like a ground and pounder. I forgot exactly what his skill set was, to be honest with you, but like Saquon's different. Listen, Zeke too. Zeke was, he's more of he's built differently than Saquon, in that he was more of like listen, when he won 5th with Dallas, that was a fluke. Dallas was a very good team that just got injured, and they wound up with the number 5 pick. So that was kind of like a luxury for them, but they got lucky there. And but Saquon is Saquon and Bijan are more like the same type of running back. And it's Trent Richardson. I remember he was highly touted, but I never felt that way about Trent Richardson. Yeah, I thought he would be good, but I never felt like Saquon or Bijan Robinson, some of the other ones that are like that.
George, jump in.
So this is how I feel about Bijan. Right there. Just throw my little heart up there. Absolutely love it. The biggest issue with the Falcons, and everybody will acknowledge, is the quarterback. right? Like it's Desmond Ritter. Like that they don't have what many would perceive to be a upper tier, upper echelon type quarterback. So what do you do to help make that quarterback better? You get somebody super talented, uber talented, to where all the quarterback has to do is take the ball and turn around and hand it to him and let him do all the work. That is going to take so much pressure off of Desmond Ritter. It's unbelievable. Having that true 3-down stud weapon in the backfield is going to take so much pressure off the quarterback in Atlanta that it's going to be a game changer for that offense. It is another bona fide weapon for defenses to have to scheme. They will have to pay attention to the running backs on the Falcons because they have a great running back room. Joe mentioned it. They got Tyler Algier, who went over 1,000 all-purpose yards last year. They still have Cordell Patterson, who is just a Swiss Army knife in that backfield. You can line him and Saquon up in the backfield, and then you could flare out Cordell Patterson out into the slot and have him go from there. So there's so many options and things you can do with having really talented running backs, and they have one of the better running back rooms in the NFL. I absolutely love this selection for the Falcons. I just love it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And also, I mean, the great thing about the situation too is that Algier is a young, let's say proven, I guess. I mean, it's only one season or 3/4 of the season, but you look at the Giants and the Saquon situation, they never really had a running back that they can count on where, well, that's not, they did have, Saquon had been injured. He's had injuries and they had some, all right. They actually did fine, actually, I have to say, when he went down, and different running style, running between the tackles. And I have to say some of the guys they had actually did pick up the slack pretty well. But I think Algier is he's the type of guy, if like if Bijan were to go down, like if he were to go down like first game of the season, some freak ACL tear or something like that, you got Algier who can carry you who can carry you throughout the entire season. And listen, they can really elongate his health in his career, Bijan that is. By I think they have a running back in Algier that they really can utilize him and not really lose much, and help to elongate Robinson's career there.
So I'm looking it up right now, but I believe the Falcons are the only team in the NFL that have 2 backup running backs that have over 1,000 yard seasons on their roster.
Yeah, and that's right. We haven't even mentioned Patterson. In depth.
Yeah, because Patterson, he has a 1,000 in Atlanta in 2021. He has over 1,000 all-purpose yards, and almost over 1,000 in 2022. Tyler Algier did go over 1,000 all-purpose yards in 2022. So, I mean, that is a prime landing spot for a running back. And when you're talking about a running back who is probably one of the best running backs we've seen since Saquon, yeah, that's a no-brainer. And Jason, I think the last running back bust that we've had, and it was due to both injuries and off-the-field issues, I think it was Darius Guice. I think he came after Trent Richardson.
Yeah, but he wasn't a first-rounder.
Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't.
I mean, there's been a lot of like second, third, fourth round running back busts.
Guys that were like super hyped and expected to come in and be like really, 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 really good and just fizzled.
So George, you wanted to get into the 101 talk for our Patreon member?
Yep. So and this is what you guys get for being patrons. Like you ask questions and we'll bring them to the panels on Sunday night and get a roundtable on your team's league specific question. You're supporting us. And in order for us to show our appreciation, this is what we do. The member, he's got a rookie draft coming up. He's got the number 1 pick overall. He wanted to know, do you pick team need or do you do best player available? Now, here I'll read you his starting lineup as soon as it expands, so I can actually see it here. But it is a super flex league. It is also a tight end premium league, and the tight end gets 2 points per reception. So everybody else gets 1, but it's a high scoring tight end league. They get 2 points per receptions, and this thing is not really loading. Up there it goes. Good. Aaron Rodgers is his starting quarterback. Alvin Kamara, Breece Hall are his running backs. Mike Evans, Gabe Davis as his 2 wide receivers. He's got Travis Kelce as his tight end. And then he's got 3 flexes. He's got Amari Cooper, KJ Osborne, Jahan Dotson, and his other quarterback that he's starting right now is Mac Jones. So what I'm assuming is he's looking at, do you take Bijan, even though he's feeling comfortable with his running back room with Kamara and Breece Hall, which I wouldn't feel comfortable with those 2 guys as my starting running backs right now. But that we could table that. So looking at the quarterback, Mac Jones, Aaron Rodgers, maybe 2 years for Aaron Rodgers, maybe 1. Mac Jones, he might get benched midseason for Bailey Zappi. So what do you guys think? Do you go for team need, or are you going best player available?
I mean, look, he needs running backs too, right? Like I didn't hear good backups on that list. Breece Hall may or may not start. It sounds like Breece Hall is going to be okay to start the season, maybe, but maybe. And Alvin Kamara is going to be suspended. He needs a running back too. So for me, unless he gets a really great offer from somebody in the 2 or 3 spot to jump up and take Bijan, Bijan's my automatic pick there.
Bijan all the way.
Because he needs a running back. But now, if somebody were to come to me and say, I'll give you the 102 because I want Bijan, I'll give you the 102 so you can have your pick of quarterbacks, and I'll give you a first next year and a second this year, I might entertain that because you need quarterbacks too. So I might go ahead and do that. But if I'm sticking with the pick, it's Bijan.
Okay. So I'll read you the rest of his running back room, okay? Because that's to give you a little bit more of the whole picture here. His running back room also contains Raheem Mostert, Zach Morris, Gary Brightwell, Trey Sermon, and Chuba Hubbard and Caleb Huntley.
So somehow, somehow I am less impressed the more running backs that you gave.
Yeah,
it's all the way.
Yeah, it's Bijan.
It's not inspiring at all. His wide receivers are, I mentioned all the starters. On the bench, he's got Jarvis Landry, Devontae Parker, Josh Reynolds, Noah Brown, N'Keal Harry, Isaiah Hodgins, Jalen Tolbert, and his other tight ends are Austin Hooper and Daniel Bellinger. So he's got the 101.
Might be a Giants fan. I've heard a few Giants names in there.
Yep. He's got the 101. He has no second round pick. So he's got the 101, 301, and 401.
So I take Bijan unless I can get a haul for Bijan. Because, there's a lot more team need there than one running back. Don't get me, I get Bijan's a stud and it'll make him great. But if you can get a haul now, listening to the rest of that roster, get a haul. But other than that, it's if you're sticking with the pick, it's Bijan.
Yeah, like what would be offered along with the 102, as a hypothetical. I assume there's going to be a haul there. But if not, then I'm going with Bijan.
Now, let me ask you this. Knowing that this team, it needs help, right? And knowing the ridiculous scoring for tight ends. I'm looking at, and this is just based solely off the projections. In this league, Travis Kelce is projected to score 31 points. That is more than both of his starting quarterbacks. Knowing Kelce's age, knowing that he is in a team that is rebuilding, would you offer Travis Kelce to see if you can get one of those top 4 picks, and then use this way you could draft Bijan, and then either get Young, Stroud, or Richardson if you could?
I mean, I try and get a tight end back. It doesn't have to be a great Evan Ingram, for example, would be an okay tight end to get back here.
He's got Austin Hooper, who I believe will be the starter for Vegas, and he's got Daniel Bellinger, which will be the starter for the Giants.
I mean, Vegas drafted.
You got Waller there in the
Vegas
Giants.
draft.
It's going to be.
And then Vegas drafted Mayer, right?
I'll tell you who would be a really great pickup, a tight end, because he'll probably be listed as a tight end, but it's my understanding he's going to be playing a lot of wide receiver, is Dalton Kincaid over is Kincaid, who went to Buffalo. It's my understanding they're going to be lining him up all over the place. So he'll probably be listed as tight end, but I think he's going to be playing a lot of wide receiver.
Yeah, the problem with that is you'll have to draft him, and he just doesn't have the capital unless he's going towards like the middle or towards the back end. Rich, let me get what's your opinion?
Yeah, look, we just got done talking about how talented and stud Bijan is. Why would you trade that away? You ain't going to turn around a team with look, I get multiple picks, but you guys don't know what these picks are going to turn out and everything. We know how Bijan's going to turn out and everything. Yep. Look, grab the best player, which is Bijan and stuff like that. If you want to trade Kelce, look, I like to think we're all savvy players and stuff when it comes to fantasy and everything. Joe, maybe not so much. Just messing with you, Joe. But what I'm saying is
shots fired.
If someone came at you if we were in this league with him and he came at you with Kelce, would you give your one of the top 4 picks for Kelce right now? In this scoring format.
Ending team that somehow I ended up trading an asset away and got somebody else's future first, and it just ended up being an early first.
I'm not giving up that for Kelce. I'm not giving up anything for Kelce because of the fact he's at the end. I get it. He scores a lot of points. Okay. But he could easily get injured this year. He is at the end of his career and stuff. And what if you gave up one of these picks and stuff like that? We don't know how these QBs are going to turn out. But what if one of them does pan out and stuff like that, and you gave up that pick and everything? I'm not making that move for Kelce, even though it's a 2-point tight end premium. I get it and stuff like that. You got to look. You still got to look. Look, you want to know how to rebuild dynasties? Picks. And from what I'm understanding, he doesn't have a 2nd-round pick and stuff like that. Look, start with Bijan this year. Take your lumps with the rest of the team. See how you pan out, and keep your picks. Don't trade any of your picks away.
Would you be interested in possibly trading Kelce for future, like maybe a 2024 first and a second or something like that?
I'm not giving up any first for Kelce, me personally, and stuff like that. Knowing that there's other potentials down the road that you could have for the next 5-6 years when Kelce is at the end of his career. I get it. It's tight end premium stuff. I'm not giving up any first for Kelce.
I think I got 2 firsts for Kelce in a league just this offseason. So there are people willing to do it.
There are people going to do it. It just, I'm not that type to do it. Would you guys do that?
It depends. So it really kind of depends. If I have a team where the window's closing, but it's open today, and like George said, I have a high 1st-round pick because, I finished 10th or 11th, 9th, 10th, 11th, but I traded my first for somebody else's first. I have somebody else's, and I have a high pick. Yeah, I'm probably doing it because it feels better than finishing 10th year after year winning a championship. And like I think in this league with 2 points per reception, like I think Kelce is the guy that would put you over the top in this league if you've got a team like that. So it really depends on my roster this year. If I feel like I'm have a good shot and I'm a piece away, then yeah, I absolutely do it, because like that 1st-round pick is a crapshoot, and yeah, it could be great, but it could also be another N'Keal Harry.
My biggest thing with and the reason why I brought up Kelce is with the way that scoring goes and the position he plays, he's going to be so dominant for your team. If you're rebuilding, he's not going to keep you from he's going to help you win games. And if you're rebuilding, winning games is not what you want to do. You don't want to win as many as possible. And you're going to have those games where he goes out and puts up 30, 40, 50 points. And it's just so dominant. He's going to win you a week or 2 or 3 throughout the year. And if you're rebuilding, that's going to hurt your draft stock for next year when you really don't want to be winning. I have a team that I traded my 20. It's a win now team. The window is clearly open for me. So I went out this offseason and I traded my 2023 first and second and Calvin Ridley, and I got Cooper Kupp. And then I traded my 2024 first and second, and I got Austin Eckler. 2 guys who I have top 3 at their position for in redraft leagues. This is a dynasty league, but I have them top 3 at their position in redraft, and that's kind of how I approach a majority of my dynasty leagues is 2 to 3 year windows. So I'm not worried about, making this ultimate dynasty team that's going to win year after year, because let's be honest, it never actually comes to fruition. So I play with a much smaller window, and looking at his roster, I would unload Kelsey, see if I can't trade him for a top draft pick, I'd see if I could trade him for a quarterback. Find somebody who's got 3 or 4 starting quarterbacks and say, hey, I'm giving you this guy. He's a clear advantage over every other position on the field. He's projected to score like 8 points more than starting quarterbacks, at least for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. And it's just projections, I get that. But like, it's just 2 points per reception gives you such an advantage. And when that player at that position, it's not going to help you long term. So I would move him. Absolutely.
Go ahead, Joe.
Frito, who defeated you in the playoffs at Frankenstein 2 years ago? Huh? Say my name.
Shots
Say
fired
my
back.
name. Say my name.
Mr. Joe knows.
There you go, baby.
No. You know why I said that? Because Joe always clowns on himself because when he's talking, and that's the only reason why I brought that. Because every time we talk about it, Joe goes, "Well, I'm not the savviest of fantasy football players," and I always would tell you, "Well, you beat me." So.
Deception. I've been watching 48 Rules of whatever having to do with The Godfather videos on that, and one of them, of course, is The Art of Deception. So I'm all about the art of deception, and it's keep your friends close, but your enemies closer, and I keep you guys really, really close because you're my enemies.
Well done, Joe. Well done.
All right, so I've got a couple other teams that improve their running back rooms, just smaller moves, but still worth mentioning. Seattle Seahawks drafting Zach Charbonnet in the second, as if a million fantasy football voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. So, guys, Zach Charbonnet, is he going to make a big impact as a rookie in Seattle?
By the way,
move. That was a Star Wars reference. But,
yes, I definitely understood. I loved it. It was I love how you wove that in. That was very, very colorful, Jason.
I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, go ahead, Rich. Sorry.
Look, I actually think this team improved their running back room more than than some of the teams we talked about. Look, there's a reason why they drafted him. Carroll, if I remember correctly, there's something that's going on with Walker that they drafted him and everything. And tell me right now if you wouldn't mind having that backfield right now.
Oh, heck yeah.
No, that's one of the best backfields in the NFL.
Exactly, yeah. And stuff like that. To me, this is one of the most improved backfields and stuff like that because you got rid of Rashad Penny, Travis Homer. Look, this is another running back room that they always use multiple running backs and everything, okay? And if you could have Walker and Charbonnet in that backfield, either one of them and stuff like that, heck, look at them if they had both of them in the backfield at the same time with that receiving core. I mean, dude,
yeah. Hey, think about what Pete Carroll loves to run the ball. When they were, Super Bowl champions and one pass away from repeating, who do they have? Who was their running back?
Marshawn Lynch.
Exactly. And I realize he was he's special, but if you've got two really, and who knows, maybe both of these guys want it being special, but he wants the superior running back, superior running game. He wants it. And that really helped out, listen, Russ Wilson was he was an excellent quarterback. Don't get me wrong. During that run, that was his prime, and he was excellent. But that was really the Marshawn Lynch show, to be honest with you. And I love it. It's 2 second-round picks, if I recall correctly, and those 2 running backs. He's got some good wide receivers too, so he's getting back to wanting to pound that ball, and I love it. And that will like we said, a successful running game can open things up down the field. Like we expect to see in Atlanta for the passing game. So, and you got Geno West, who had a really good year last year. Now he's got the extension, and Pete Carroll's he's getting what he wanted. And listen, he didn't have his running backs. We all know we were talking about Penny before. Penny's talented, but he can't stay healthy, and I think that was just kind of been the problem for the ever since Lynch departed. It's just been either lack of talent or injuries, and now he's got two studs. Where listen, if one of them goes down, either of them can carry the load for the entire season. So, Seattle, that was a pretty cool move. And you're right, Frida. I think that probably was the most, probably is the most improved running back room, actually.
Well, so the reason I didn't call it the most improved is they added one guy. Kenneth Walker was already there. You can't say Kenneth Walker is an improvement on last year because he was there last year. Now he's healthy, or he's starting the season healthy, unlike last season. So that's an improvement. George, go ahead, jump in.
Yeah. So I mean, if we're gonna say that adding Bijan is a huge improvement to a running back room, and they only added one guy, I think we have to say adding Zach Charbonnet. I understand he's not Bijan Robinson.
He's not Bijan. Come on, man. I like Charbonnet like everybody else, but he's not Bijan.
I agree. I absolutely agree. But it still makes it one of the best running back rooms in the NFL.
Yep.
You're talking about guys last year. We were excited about DJ Dallas, right?
I mean, we weren't. Nobody was excited about DJ.
There was people who were literally excited.
I wasn't.
Nobody was excited about it.
On Seattle. I stayed away from that mess.
It was mostly daily fantasy, right? It was
okay, well,
FS. Those guys were definitely excited about the cheap
They were.
When Ken Walker wasn't available. That was a thing. It's not something I'm making up. But no, like that. We talked about it earlier with Atlanta. The best thing you can do for, I'm not going to say Geno is a mediocre quarterback, because I don't think he is, but I think he's a hair above average. And the best thing you can do for those types of quarterbacks, take the pressure off them, give them a running back to turn around, hand the ball to drop the ball in a little screen or whatever, like the little pitches to the running backs. Now they got two guys who both excel at that. It's a great pickup. We're going to see probably a 60-40, 65-45 split between the two. Both guys will have fantasy relevancy, and they're going to use the hell out of both of them. And for Seattle, I love it. I absolutely do for the team.
Yep, I completely agree. Which is why they're on here.
Yep.
And then last but not least, the Buffalo Bills. We'll all say that the Bills' best running back is still Josh Allen, but signing Damian Harris to replace Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, is definitely more than a modest upgrade. So, what do you guys think about Damian Harris in Buffalo? And I'm going to start with George because he's a AFC East guy.
I don't care that they signed Damian Harris. Honestly, the Bills have to show me that they will use a running back in some sort of consistent fashion before I can actually get excited or care that they signed a running back, right? Like if they would have went out and got Bijan Robinson, or not Bijan Robinson, I'm sorry. Let's say they would have went out and got Saquon. Saquon, ended up going to free agency. The Bills didn't tag him, and then he went to Buffalo. Okay, you're bringing that guy in. You've got my attention, right? Because that type of a running back you're going to use. Damian Harris, honestly, couldn't get a whole lot of run in New England. And because of Ramondre Stevenson ran him out of town. I'm not overly concerned about Damian Harris going to Buffalo, where they typically don't tend to use the running backs. They always say, oh, we need to get the running back more involved. We need to run the ball more. That's what they say. But their actions dictate otherwise. They're passing the ball. They're not running it.
Yeah, I agree with George. I think they're full of crap. I think they're you're going to take the running game seriously, then get some real running backs. And not that Damian Harris isn't, but we've been playing that stupid Zach Moss game for a long time. And I'm sorry, that dude was never an RB1. But it hasn't been their offense anyway. Their offense has been Josh Allen, who's phenomenal, Stephon Diggs, who's phenomenal. The hope was that Gabriel Davis, after that breakout performance against Kansas City a few years ago in the playoffs, that he'd be like, another weapon. But you have, a little Gabe Davis sprinkled in and a little Dawson Knox. Other than that, it's been the Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs show the entire time. And if I'm Buffalo fan base, I'd be pissed off about it because I don't think they've given nearly enough. And I think they had a short window when Brady left the Patriots a few years ago. They had a short window of dominance. It's gone. I think they're a third place team in that division. Miami is better than them. And quite frankly, I think the Jets are, George, I think the Jets are clearly better than the Bills. Their defense isn't even that great, to be honest with you. There's nothing that spectacular about the Buffalo Bills except Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, and the Diggs apparently doesn't even want to be there.
So I'm going to say the same thing about the Bills that I said about the Chiefs last year when everybody was writing the Chiefs off. They're still the best team in their division until they're proven that they're not.
Okay, you're right.
People were writing off the Chiefs last year, saying that like they were the fourth best team in their division. And I came on the show and I said, no, that's not true. They're the best team in their division until they're beaten and proven otherwise, because that's the respect they've earned. And as a Dolphins fan, and especially if I was a Jets fan, don't get me started on the Jets, please, Joe. Don't do that. But the Jets have won 5 AFC East games in the last 5 years. I don't care what they look
George,
like.
Buffalo, before Josh Allen, Buffalo was a joke ever since Mark Levy retired. Miami, ever since Dan Marino retired, they were worse. They've been worse than the Jets. I mean, it's not, and I'm not saying the Jets are like, wow, this is a team of consistency like the Steelers, but you can see when a team has talent, like I can see with Miami, and I see that with the Jets, and with the Bills, I don't even with their defense. I'm like, dude, you better help those young edge rushers you've been drafting in the back end of the first round, which I like what the Bills have done in that regard. They better start becoming a real force, because I think that's a mediocre defense, to be honest with you.
It'll be a much improved defense this year if Von Miller comes back healthy. He missed 2 games last year.
That's true. All right, good point. Good point about that. Yeah.
A key piece on that defense. Like I said, they're the best team in the division until they're not. As a Dolphins fan,
you're right.
Shots fired here from Dennis, so I had to put it up there. Joey Harrington held it down in Miami.
I mean, a lot of shitty quarterbacks held it down in Miami.
All right, that's our one, George. It's at the end of the show too. We get one cuss.
I know.
You just dropped it. So Rich, I'm gonna let you jump in on Damian Harris in Buffalo. Then we're gonna wrap this up. Try not to cuss. George just used it up.
Yeah, so I think this one is a kind of a premature. We should have probably had them on this week and everything. Now let's wait till next week after June 1st, and Minnesota cuts Dalvin Cook, and Buffalo Bill comes back next and puts the Cook brothers together, and then we can have a conversation. Did they improve and stuff like that? Damian Harrison really doesn't move the needle for me at all. Cook will move the needle for me a little bit more and stuff like that than Damian Harris. And yeah, look, there's still good offense and everything, but Damian Harrison doesn't do anything for me. I'm glad he's left New England, so Stevenson could really handle the ball a little bit more better and stuff like that. But I want to see the Cook brothers in Buffalo, and then we'll have this conversation.
Yeah. You know what? Real quick too, but George, and I'm sorry, I got off on one tangent. George made a great point about Buffalo too. And he doesn't, and it's nothing against Damian Harris. He doesn't move the needle for me because of the offense he went to. Like, even if there's been, I don't know, I guess wondering if maybe Buffalo would trade for Saquon. Like, are you actually going to use the guy? Are you going to use him in a running capacity, not just out of the backfield as a receiver? Are you going to or is it just going to be 70% pass or whatever it is all the time? And there's nothing wrong with that. But man, if you're gonna be overly heavily passing game and just only running the ball with Josh Allen, then get the dude another stud wide receiver or two. He's going to need some help. But if you are going to get invest in a running back, and I think they should to help the quarterback out, then they got to change their offensive philosophy. But I just don't see that happening. So I guess Damian Harris doesn't move the needle, but George is right about that.
Who would?
He's going to an offense where they're just going to be passing the ball no matter what.
So a couple guys still out there. You got Hunt out there still. You got Leonard Fournette out there still. You got Zeke Elliott out there still. You got some, running backs of yesteryear. So if you wanted somebody, I guess, they guys out there. Dalvin Cook,
To the
George.
That would be great.
Dalvin Cook to the Dolphins.
Dolphins.
In Achane, whatever his name is. That would be great.
They inquired about him. He said he wants to play in Miami. If they cut him, there's a very, very good chance that he might end up.
Wow. That would be a great move.
Yeah,
That'd
and
be
you
a cool move.
kiss Jeff Wilson goodbye.
Yeah. That would be an
just don't kiss
upgraded
him
running back room.
Don't kiss him on his ankle; it'll shatter.
Who, Jeff Wilson or?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for real.
All right, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for us this week. We got in over an hour on improved running back room, so I feel like we went all the way through it. We got all the information out there we needed to. I do want to mention one more time, tomorrow or today, if you're watching it on Monday, is Memorial Day. Thank you to all the troops out there that protect us. Thank you for all those who gave up the ultimate sacrifice to preserve our way of life. So thank you again to all the troops. And for Toilets Titles, toiletstitles.com. Go to YouTube, Toilets Titles, like and subscribe. Patreon.com/toiletstitles. Jump into our Gilded Chat. All the cool things we do, all the shows Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, obviously, right? We've got something for you every day of the week. So, guys, check us out everywhere we are. We're going to be doing this all off-season, all regular season, off-season breakdowns with me, George, Justin. Go ahead, George.
I do want to give a quick little sneak peek. We have an off-season review coming out on Tuesday. It is of the Detroit Lions. And I do want to say that we were joined by Daniel Dopp, a.k.a. Secret Squirrel from the 06010. So he came to Toilets and Titles and got to sit down with Justin to talk a little bit about the Detroit Lions. And that'll be coming out on Tuesday.
Nice.
All right, see what I'm saying? Something cool every day of every week. Lions show is going to be very cool. So thank you to Rich, George, Joe. Thank you guys for coming on. Thank you for everybody who watches, and thank you for everybody who likes and subscribes. Guys, have a great week. We'll see you next Sunday.
Take care, all.